Hi second grade, welcome back. We are almost finished with our Picasso project, but it is now time for us to add the final layer and the final step of this project. Can anyone tell me why we are studying Picasso? I hope that someone said we are studying Picasso because he created abstract cubist art that did not look like the art that was happening at the time. Can someone please raise their hand and tell me how his art was different from art that was already being made at the same time? I hope that someone said that paintings and art looked a lot more realistic. When Picasso created artwork, his paintings shattered the canvas and made it look like a bunch of little pieces. He also used a lot of colors that he had to mix himself, like the secondary colors. Now, let's try a word that you may have heard before. Can anyone tell me what texture means? Texture means anything that you can feel. So texture words are the words that we use when we describe how something looks or feels in our hands. Now, I want you to turn and talk to a friend. Take a look at some of these textures on the board and tell a friend what some of them might feel like if you were to pick them up with your hands. When you walked in today, you should have picked up a paper towel and a paintbrush. If you haven't gotten those items, please get them now. You should have also carefully taken your totally painted clay creation to your seat. Today we're going to add something called Mod Podge. You'll find these little cups with Mod Podge in it. It does not smell great, but we use it to make our surface shiny. And shiny is a word that is a texture word, so we are going to be adding texture to our object today. Do not begin any of these steps until we've gone over every single instruction, because if we don't follow instructions, we may actually lose a paintbrush and I won't be able to use this again. So I want to make sure that you completely understand all directions before we start today. When we begin, I'll come by and add a water cup to the table. This water cup is not to be used until you are finished Mod Podging your object. The reason that we're using water today is so that we can clean our brush and make sure it doesn't dry out. The Mod Podge is a lot like a glue. If you leave it on the paintbrush that we're applying it with, it could ruin the paintbrush forever. So the water is not to be mixed with the Mod Podge. The water is only to clean the brush. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna take my paintbrush. My paintbrush is dry. You don't need to wet it or anything. You're going to open up the Mod Podge. Be very, very careful. Please do not get this on the table. You're going to dip in the Mod Podge. You only need a little bit, and you're gonna go over your creation with the Mod Podge. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh my gosh, this looks crazy. Looks like a bunch of glue. And it is a bunch of glue, but it will dry clear. It's gonna dry really clear, and over time, it will start to look really shiny. By the end of today, it should be super duper shiny, and it will absorb into the clay creation quickly. So we're putting this all over. You don't need to put it on the back side, but you can put it on the sides. Just make sure that your paper towel is right below it so that nothing gets on the table. If this gets on the table, it's there forever, and I will be so sad and upset. So I'm gonna cover this entire object with Mod Podge. I'm going really fast just so that I can show you, but I want you to take your time. Here's the most important part. Once you are done Mod Podging and it looks something like this, you must put your paintbrush in the water cup and swirl it around immediately. Get that gunk off, because if it dries, if you just leave this on the table, it will dry forever. Even if you're using the restroom or you have to leave your table for a second, leave your paintbrush in the water. Repeat after me. Leave your paintbrush in the water. Very good.
Wait, what? Keep your paintbrush in the water. Keep your paintbrush in the water. Keep your paintbrush in the water.
Oh,
you have to keep your paintbrush in the water. Can I try? I'll do it. Did I do it?
One time.
You gotta keep your paintbrush in the water.
Okay.
Keep your paintbrush in the water.
Make sure you keep your brush in the water. When you and your partner are done, please make sure that you close this little cup. When both you and your partner are done, you'll place the cup, following the green arrows on the back counter. You'll take the water cup with both paintbrushes inside to the same place. Instead of putting it here, you're going to put it in the sink so I can have someone clean it out later. When you get back to your table, you'll notice that it's starting to dry. Push it away for now so that no one knocks it over. And then you're going to need a pencil and a worksheet from the middle table. This is how I grade you for this project. This is called an assessment. Say assessment. Very good. So the artist is up here. That's you. You need to write your name on this top line. Now we need to come up with a title. You need to title your artwork, just like you would title a book. I decided to title it Crazy Funky Man, but you can title this whatever you would like. Next, you need to look at these tools and circle the ones that we used for this project. Well, we did kind of sketch it out, and we're using a pencil now, so you could say that. When we created our paper cutout of our face that we were gonna make, we did use a little bit of markers. We used scissors, we used paper, but we also used clay, and we used paint. But clay isn't listed on here, so you'll have to draw it. So I'm gonna write clay, C-L-A-Y, just try your best with spelling. And then I really don't know what clay looks like, so I'm just gonna draw a little scribble that kind of looks like a bunch of clay. We also used water, so I'm gonna write water, W-A-T-E-R, and then maybe draw a little cup with some water inside. But if you can think of more, please put that. The next thing it asks is, I learned I can. This is a sentence stem, so it needs to be basically half of a sentence. You need to complete this statement. So think about all the things you learned. I learned I can make an abstract face, so I think that's what I'm gonna write. So I put, I learned I can make an abstract face, but you could say, I learned how to mix rich colors, I learned how to use tempera. Anything that you can think of that you learned, you can put here. This one is the one that really confuses most people, but I don't want you to overthink it. It's actually really easy. This says, questions I asked. Think about any questions you had, either ones that you raised your hand and asked me, or ones that you kept to yourself. During this project, I always wondered, what would happen if I never put the clay in the oven? Now, I don't know the answer to that question. I've never tried it, but that is one question that you could ask. Or it could be something that you really did ask. Maybe you asked me for help with something, you could write that question. So remember, it can be something that you thought of in your brain and then asked, or it could be something that you thought of and never thought to ask, or it could be something that you make up. So I wrote, what happens if the clay never goes in the oven? Make sure to end this one with a question mark. This will help remind you, it needs a question mark. The next one says, I'm proud of. This is another sentence stem. So while it's drying, take a close look at it, and you'll notice that mine is getting really shiny the more I leave it. I'm proud of, I decided to put, I'm proud of the way I slipped and scored. So remember, we had to slip and score to make sure that those pieces wouldn't fall off in the oven. So if yours made it, you could put, I'm proud of the way I slipped and scored. But you could also answer your way. This is what needs to be done. When you are done with this, I would like it if you could please draw your crazy person on the back. But I want you to draw them as they would be, not just their face. So maybe draw their crazy body too. Also draw a setting. Where are they? Are they at the mall? Are they running around? Make something up. I want you to draw your face on an actual body. You can make it crazy. I hope that y'all have an amazing day. I'll come by and pick these up later once they're getting a little bit more dry. That way we can show them off in the hallway.